What is happening, party people? This is Brett Jackson Boogie, Happiness in Retirement, coming at you from Marathon, Florida, where I've been going fishing and going to parks and having a good time. And today, I'm going to talk to you about my latest lessons learned from fly fishing / fishtail. So yesterday, the girlfriend and I went to this little park right behind City Hall here in Marathon called Oceanfront Park. It's got a little boardwalk. There's no beach or anything, but it's got a little boardwalk that is right up against the water and got rocks. And so I stepped on the rocks and I was fly fishing and I caught a barracuda. The first time I've ever caught a barracuda. You know, it was about 12 inches, but it was exciting. It was a barracuda, and I caught it on the fly. Pretty cool. And I actually caught it and released it with my little forceps. So, I was walking around, checking out the place. Casting for fish. So I was using an 8-weight with a floating line and a Clouser minnow, my famous white and chartreuse Clouser minnow. If you ain't got chartreuse, it ain't no use. So that's what I caught the barracuda on, and I was like fishing with that around the shore. So I went down to this little kayak launch that they have, which is really cool, and it's got like a little dock, and I could see under the dock there were these little, looked like mangrove snappers underneath. There's some kind of colorful fish it looked like they were eating size. I think they got to be 12 inches to eat here in Florida. And then I'm standing there and I see a tarpon. It's probably a 33, 36 inch tarpon, which they call a juvenile tarpon or a baby tarpon here. And I'm like, oh dude, no way. So I throw my line out, and sure enough, he tracks to my fly, and I can see everything. And he tracks to it. He opens his mouth, takes it. I set the hook. He jumps up in the air like they always say the tarpon do. Now, keep in mind, this is the first time I've ever hooked a tarpon. I'm all excited. My heart's pumping. My adrenaline's flowing. And I got this tarpon on, and he shoots under the dock. And I'm like trying to keep him from going under the dock. And he shoots under the dock and he shakes his head and he does this and that. Anyway, I think he bit me off because he came off. And sure enough, when I pulled up the line on my tippet, I could see where he had basically chewed right through the tippet. So here's the lesson. So I had 2 fly rods with me, one floating line and one sink tip, but they both had a 15-pound tippet on it because I was just, going for snook, some mangrove snapper and stuff like that, right? Smaller fish. I wasn't going for tarpon. I didn't think I was going to run into a tarpon in the back of a bay near a kayak boat launch. It's like, what? So the lesson is, if you got 2 rods, set one of them up with your 15-pound test, but then you should set the other one up with like a 40-pound shock tippet, just in case you run into that tarpon or a shark or something crazy, right? Or I don't know, whatever. Because here in the saltwater in Marathon, I guess you never know what you're going to run into. So there's my big lesson learned from my fishtail. First tarpon I've ever hooked on, ever. Even conventional tackle, fly rod, whatever. I've never hooked a tarpon. And the first one I hooked, I set the hook. It was a beautiful set. I had him. He jumped up in the air. He went under the dock again, and I lost him. And that's the lesson learned. If you got 2 rods, put different tippets on the rods. Peace out. If you enjoy my material, go to the next video or hit subscribe. Thank you very much.